I will never forget the day my cousin gave me a whooping for giving her a double middle finger. Now, I was about 7 years old, and I had no idea that that meant what it means. And I had a bigger cousin who told me that it was a bad word to put up, the ring finger. So I said, okay. We played a game that we created called Oh Slow, Go Slow, Go So Fast. And we would say, oh, slow, go so fast. And we'd run and we'd pose. Well, my bigger cousin would pose, putting up both middle fingers. So I thought it was cute. I don't know why I thought it was cute. I thought it was cute. I didn't know it was a bad word. I thought it was cute. My big cousin did it. You know, as little cousins, you copy off of your big cousin. That's what you do. So I had an older cousin who was about 12 years older than me, and she was babysitting, as she oftentimes did. And I told her, watch this. And I said, oh, slow, go so fast. Gave her the double middle fingers, and she grabbed me by my arm immediately and started whooping me. Had no idea what I had done wrong or why she was whooping me. And this brings me to my topic for today. To whoop or not to whoop? That is the question. Now, in that day, I got a whooping. It's funny because my cousin doesn't remember giving me all these whoopings. I told her in our adulthood, I said, you know what? I knew that anytime you babysat me, I was guaranteed a whooping. You found a reason to give me a whooping every time you babysat me. She said, I don't remember that. And I said, you know what? I can't forget it. So as I talk about whether or not we should be whooping our kids, many people say things like, I got whoopings and I turned out all right. But really, is that what we want for our kids? Is just to turn out all right? I mean, many of us parents are making multiple sacrifices, working, going to school, trying to make the best life for our kids. But when it comes to whether or not we whoop them, we're like, well, I turned out all right. So like my kid will turn out all right. Is that sufficient? I think not. So one thing I found is that for most parents, it's just easier to whoop your kids. It is much easier to whoop your kids than it is to teach your kids. Now, I'm saying this from the standpoint of both a parent and an educator, okay? As an educator, there's no way I can whoop a kid without losing my job and my credential and all of those things. So guess what I have to do? I have to be very creative in order to get kids to do what I want them to do. Well, parents don't want to be creative in teaching their kids what to do, so they rather just whoop them. I call that lazy parenting. And the reality is many times our kids don't even know what they're doing wrong because they've never been taught. This brings me to my next story. My son, when he was in middle school, he said something, did something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was disrespectful. And I told him, I said, son, that was disrespectful. And he said, how was that disrespectful? And I said, how do you not know that was disrespectful? But as soon as those words came out of my mouth, I realized I had not taught him what was disrespectful. And he genuinely didn't know. And I call that absentee parenting, right? Because I was working and going to school full time while I was raising my kids. And there's gaps in their learning based on that. There's certain things that had I not been working full time and going to school full time while trying to raise two kids full time, if I hadn't been doing those things, these are things that I would have taught him. But I didn't because I wasn't there. And so somehow I guess I expected him to learn right from wrong through osmosis. Telepathy maybe. But I had not taught him right from wrong. And guess what? The media is a great teacher. When our kids are watching television, when they're playing video games, they are learning, constantly learning what their morals are, developing their morals and values based on what they see on television and based on what they see in these video games. And unless what I'm teaching them counters that, they won't know right from wrong. So me beating this kid is not going to teach him right from wrong. And I have a problem with it, seriously, because, being the historian that I am also, I know that this beating, culture comes from slavery. Slave masters felt that the only way that they could get slaves African slaves, like my ancestors, to do what they wanted them to do was to beat them. And at the same time, they dehumanized them. They no longer saw them as human beings. And I would venture to say that even as parents are whooping their kids, they're not looking at that kid as a human being. They're looking at that kid as someone who's offended them in some way and is deserving of being beaten. Okay? And unfortunately, especially in the Black community and in other communities as well, but definitely in the Black community, we whoop our kids with all type of stuff. We grab a switch off the tree, we grab a shoe, we grab a hanger, and back in the days we had those wire hangers. That was no joke. Extension cord. As I'm running down this list, I know some of y'all having flashbacks to the traumatic experiences of you getting a beating yourself, right? But many of us are like, well, my parents whooped me and I turned out all right. And that's their justification. And my problem is, Maya Angelou said, do what you know. I want to get this right. She said, do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. And many of us, I don't think we intentionally want to be lazy parents. But I think many of us just don't know better. Because we got whooped by our parents got whooped by their parents got whooped by their parents. Like, everybody's getting whoopings, right? And everybody laughs about it now. We talk about it now. We laugh about it now, right? We can sit down and have conversations and laugh and talk about which whooping we got. Remember when Big Mama went and got that switch off the tree, that green one, and we all laugh and talk about it, and it becomes a big joke. But when you know better, do better. And what it really comes down to is being willing to teach our kids right from wrong, being able to teach them the problem solving skills, okay, critical thinking skills. Okay, you did this in this situation. What would have been a better course of action for you other than doing this thing that you did? And you don't have to beat your kid in order to teach them that. You teach them that. Their discipline. And the thing is, it really is lazy parenting in a number of cases. Okay? Because when your kid is on punishment, guess what? You on punishment. And I don't want to be on punishment. I understand that. I was never good at holding my kids to punishment because guess what? I wasn't good at holding myself to punishment. But if I'm not allowing my kid to go outside and play, I got to stay there and watch and make sure that kid doesn't go outside and play. Okay? If I tell him he can't play video games, I got to sit right there and watch and make sure he ain't playing video games. And oftentimes when kids are not allowed to play video games, they can't go outside, they can't watch TV, they can't go on social media, they can't do any of those things. Guess what they want to do? They want to talk to you. And you don't want to sit there and talk. Look, you're not about to punish me with conversation for the next. You're not about to talk my ear off for the next couple of hours because you on punishment. No. So guess what? You rather whoop their behind. You feel satisfied. You feel justified in having given a complete consequence for whatever action it is they did without punishing yourself at the same time. And that's lazy parenting. So, when you know better, do better. And I'm not saying this from a standpoint of I'm like that parent who never whipped their children. I did whip my children, and I regret it now. And I've learned better since then. And if I had more children, which I hope I don't, but if I had more children, trust me, I wouldn't be beating them. I'd be teaching them. Because I need my kids to have those same problem-solving skills when they get out on their own. And parents, especially Black parents, we are notorious for saying, because I said so. Do this because I said so. Do that because I said so, right? But how are we teaching our kids to think through the problem themselves when mama's not there to say so? When grandmama not there to say so? When daddy's not there to say so? How do we teach our kids how to problem solve for themselves? How to critically think for themselves? Okay? No more absentee parenting and whooping to replace the fact that you're not there teaching. Teach our kids. Teach them to be responsible. Teach them to make the best choices in life. And teach them to be better parents than we were.